TripAdvisor Review. Twin Palms Resort, 5 out of 5 stars. I had the good fortune of staying at the Twin Palms Resort in the Eastern Cape from the 5th till the 12th of October 2017. Before I go any further, I'd like to note that it was rather difficult to secure a reservation, so my advice is to book ahead of time to avoid disappointment. The Twin Palms Resort is a marvelous destination, located just the right distance away from the ocean. It's a short walk to the beach, but the ocean is not so close that you're pestered by sea spray or joggers or barking crotch sniffers, or those awful gulls that insist on squawking and squealing as they wheel overhead. While we're on the subject of the beach, I must say that it's a charming strip, with just the right balance of private and public space. The modest cafe there serves excellent beer-battered fish and chips, their ice cream is delicious, and, at the risk of sounding like a sentimental old fool, it made me feel quite nostalgic for my childhood days, when I would walk on the sun-baked sand with ice cream melting down my chin, holding hands with my beloved Aunt Daphne. The food at the resort was also wonderful, if a bit salty for my taste. The soups were especially delicious, and I loved the moist, just-baked bread, the room-temperature butter and fresh salad buffet bar, and the vibrant cultural evening, where the guests were encouraged to join in with the traditional dancing and singing. An excellent time was had by all. Here are the other things I appreciated about the resort. The extremely comfortable beds, I slept like a baby, the air conditioning, the housekeeping girl, and the complimentary drinks in the bar fridge. Suffice to say, I thought the resort was top-notch. I really did have a wonderful time at the Twin Palms Resort, and I am indeed looking forward to my next stay. Morgan Bellafray, a.k.a. @Globetrotter69. Dear Globetrotter, thank you kindly for your wonderful review. We are so happy that you enjoyed your stay at the Twin Palms. On the matter of the delay in your reservation, the reason your booking took a long time to finalize is because there was a small issue with your credit card. Bookings are only confirmed on the payment of the initial deposit. When we received the funds, your room was booked without delay. Thank you again for your kind review. It is much appreciated. Regards, Vuleka Dandala, Manager, the Twin Palms Resort. TripAdvisor Review. Twin Palms Resort, 4 out of 5 stars. Dear Ms. Dandala, thank you for your response. Not every hotel takes the time to respond to my reviews, and I do so appreciate it when they do. That said, it did make me remember some of the less than stellar aspects of my stay there, so I thought I should make a note of them here for your benefit, as well as the potential guests reading this. I have 2 minor complaints about the beach, for which I docked half a star each. The ocean was just too cold and too rough. In my mind, a warm, calm sea is like the arms of a lover, and you should be confident to waltz into them and feel welcome and safe. But this swimming spot, despite it being October, I found quite cold and hostile. One only had to be knee-deep before one's toes turned to blocks of ice, and the waves kept beating against me and once even threatened to pull me under. If I were a less rational man, I may even come to the conclusion that the ocean didn't like me. A less rational man may have taken the attack personally, but of course I realize that the ocean is the ocean, just as rain is rain, and there is no negotiating with either. You could argue, I suppose, that if I didn't like the water, I should have stayed on terra firma, but I will argue in turn. For what is a beach holiday without a dip in the sea? I also found the beach just slightly too sandy. Now I do realize that may sound silly, but at a wonderful upmarket place like the Twin Palms Resort, I expected some kind of concession to be made for those of us who don't like sitting on sand. It does, after all, get into everything, and I'm certain I don't have to tell you that sand in a Speedo is no one's idea of fun. The other half-star was deducted because the staff, although extremely quick, kind, and courteous, insisted on speaking to each other in an African language. I found this quite alarming and disrespectful. They ought to be instructed that one should not do this in front of guests, as guests could possibly think they are gossiping about them and be unjustly, or justly, offended. I was unpleasantly reminded of my trip to Mallorca in '79, when all the staff spoke Spanish, regardless of who they were addressing. Foreigners must be forgiven for trespasses like this, I suppose, as they weren't taught the manners and etiquette that are the imperative for the foundation of any good man. I must be forgiving of the shortcomings in their decorum in this regard. Not everyone was lucky enough to have an Aunt Daphne to teach them these simple but essential courtesies that make the world a comfortable, dignified, and civilized place. It goes without saying that that particular Spanish establishment received considerably fewer stars than this glowing review, although in those days there was no TripAdvisor on the computer, and I had to send a stamped letter in the post. In addition to the hostile sea and babbling staff, I found the fishing at the Twin Palms Resort wasn't up to much, which was a great pity, as I had carted all of my new fishing gear along and didn't really make much use of it after the first day. Usually, I'm known for some rather good catches, but these particular fish seemed to resist my superior right wrist flourish angling technique. It was disappointing, but I decided to pack it up and soldier on, and to not let it spoil my stay. Lastly, while I found the hotel rooms were, on the whole, spacious and comfortable, I came to the conclusion that the walls were a little on the thin side. I could hear my neighbour talking on the phone while I made use of the ablution facilities. It goes without saying that it was quite disconcerting the first time it happened. As I sat down to read my newspaper, I heard her say, "Hello, darling," and I almost jumped off the throne. Oh, I laughed when I saw her at breakfast that morning, although of course she wouldn't have known why. Kind regards, Morgan Bellafray, a.k.a. Globetrotter69. Dear Mr. Bellafray, since your stay here, I have had various staff members approaching me to complain about your conduct as a guest at the Twin Palms. I feel it is important to address both your points and theirs. You spoke of enjoying the traditional dancing and singing. I wonder if, next time, you could just stay seated and watch the entertainment from your table as the other guests do, instead of leaping up every 2 minutes to grab the dancers and waltz them across the dining area, or slurring your version of Nkosi Sikeleli I Africa at the top of your voice. You may want to brush up on the lyrics, by the way. Moses told me that the words you were singing, and I use the term singing loosely, were highly offensive to him and to the rest of the cultural group. He wouldn't go into detail, but he avoided eye contact with me when he relayed the story. I also hasten to remind you that the point of the evening is to relax and appreciate the beautiful culture of the people who live in the area. It is not supposed to be a drunken karaoke free-for-all, hence our refusal to give you the mic, as you demanded. Also, Moses would like his gumboots back. On the topic of respecting the culture of the staff, we unapologetically reserve our staff's right to speak in their mother tongue. I wonder, Mr. Bellafray, why you think that people are gossiping behind your back. Is it perhaps because a small part of you knows that you deserve it? Do you really think it's unusual for people to talk about a hotel guest who has drunken arguments with himself in the middle of the night and then passes out in the early hours, only to snore like a bandsaw? Perhaps, Mr. Bellafray, an old biblical phrase may apply here. You need to search for the log in your own eye before complaining about the splinter in ours. We had many problems with your stay here, and the fact that our staff speak vernacular is not one of them. Regarding the complimentary bar fridge in your room, it is labelled very clearly as an honesty bar, and there was a notebook on top of the appliance for you to record your consumption, so that it could be added to your bill at the end of your stay. Intabi Singh, the cleaning lady responsible for your room, had to restock it daily, but didn't find any entries from you. Luckily, she made a note of the drinks you consumed, and you'll be receiving the bill via email shortly. I have a feeling she was especially enthusiastic in regards to her record keeping, perhaps because she didn't appreciate the mess you left in your room every day, including, but not limited to, the odious bait box you insisted on keeping in your bedroom, the numerous occasions you flooded the bathroom despite our countrywide drought, and your insistence on calling her a girl, despite her being a woman in her 30s. We do apologize for the fact that you could hear your neighbor talking on the phone. Singh told me that she came in one morning to clean your room and found you holding a glass to the wall. I'll just leave that there. Lastly, in response to your complaint about fishing, the Twin Palms beach is not a fishing area and is signposted accordingly. There is a jetty a little further up the coast which is ideal for angling, and you'll find many local fishermen catching large fish there every day. If you had asked at reception or read your information booklet instead of using it as kindling in the gas fireplace in your room, you would have known this. I'm not surprised that you didn't catch anything. As the lifeguard told me, you were casting into the tidal pool before she asked you to stop. I'm not sure what you were hoping to catch in there, but I was relieved to hear that no children were injured in the process. I can assure you that the sea at our little beach does not have a vendetta against you, although, to be honest, I wouldn't blame it if it did. Also, for future reference, our beach is not a swimming beach. There are no shark nets protecting the area, and it's known for great whites, so it is really not a safe place to swim. Kind regards, Vuleka Dandala, Manager, the Twin Palms Resort. TripAdvisor Review, Twin Palms Resort, 2 out of 5 stars. Well, I do have to wonder why such a wonderful holiday destination like the Twin Palms Resort would have such an impertinent woman in charge of customer relations when she clearly has no idea of how one should speak to customers. Ms. Dandala, it is my opinion that your superior should remove you from your position immediately and replace you with someone who has experience in dealing with the minor niggles I believe should be addressed at your establishment. I am, after all, just trying to help. But I do understand that women, especially at certain times of the month, can take things personally when no direct offence is meant. Perhaps you could try to keep our communication civil and businesslike as befits your designation. Further, to my above recommendation, I also think that certain staff need replacing, namely that housekeeping girl with the wild imagination, the reckless lifeguard at the beach, and Moses, primarily for not having a sense of humour. For future reference, the last time I checked, this was a free country, and I will bloody well swim if I want to swim. How can you call yourself a beach resort when you don't allow guests to swim in the ocean? I find that absolutely ludicrous and bad form all around. And seeing as we're speaking in biblical verses, here is one for you. Your mother is a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries. I wish you a good day. Morgan Bellafray, a.k.a. at Globetrotter69. Dear Mr. Bellafray, I believe that verse is a Monty Python one, and not originally from the Bible. However, your sentiment is noted. I'm glad you replied to my previous comment, allowing me to address some other issues which have since surfaced. Apart from the eye-watering bar fridge bill, we will also be sending you an account for the following: the bed slat you broke, I don't want to know how that happened, the toilet you blocked, the shaving mirror you cracked, and the swimming pool lilo you perhaps mistakenly took with you when you left. We will also be sending you a bill for the white towel you ruined. We can't tell if it's black hair dye or shoe polish, but it used to be bright white, and now it's irreversibly stained, and we're holding you responsible for the cost of a new one. I'm glad you've given us the opportunity to allow you to settle your debts. Thank you again for your original review, which has made this all possible, as we were able to track you and your contact details through your open profile page. The bill should reach you shortly. I do hope your credit card is no longer giving you problems. Have a lovely day further. Vuleka Dandala, Manager, the Twin Palms Resort. TripAdvisor Review, Twin Palms Resort, 0 out of 5 stars. Listen here, Dandala. I have a biblical verse for you. I permit no woman to have authority over men. She is to keep silent. Timothy 2:11. Maybe old Tim had a point, eh? I mean, you may be a man-hating feminazi and believe that the world is a better place now with women in the working world, but I can tell you that from my personal experience, life was a lot more fun in the old days, when there was a race to space and women knew their place. I find your communique blunt and spiteful, and I demand to speak to your manager about your flagrant and callous disregard for customers and manners on the whole. Mr. Belafre. Dear Morgan, I will not rise to the feminazi bait, which is, by the way, nonsensical, because you're basically equating someone who wants equal rights to someone who invaded Poland. And I'm pretty sure it was written during one of the midnight cursing sessions you seem to enjoy. I do hope you don't wreck your own home in the same way you do hotel rooms. I can't help but wonder if your Aunt Daphne ever taught you any manners whatsoever, or if you just ignored her in the same way you seem to disregard common decency. So even though your comment was silly and not worth this response, I'm typing it anyway, just to let you know that I'm passing this customer service nightmare over to my boss, the owner of the hotel group, because I honestly have more important things to do than to deal with the deluded ravings of a drunken, idiotic lunatic. Vuleka. P.S. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but when I asked the lifeguard on the beach why she didn't report you for exposing yourself to the other beachgoers, she just shrugged and said, there was nothing to see. But don't be upset, Belafre. Look at it this way. You're lucky to have a 1-inch wonder, or you might have a criminal case on your hands. Sayonara, my little gherkin. I'll always remember you when I look at our fresh salad buffet bar. TripAdvisor review, Twin Palms Resort, 0 out of 5 stars. I will not dignify that childish jibe with a response, except to say that I am glad I'll finally be in correspondence with someone who knows how to treat customers. Goodbye, you ill-mannered plebeian, and, as Aunt Doris would have said, good riddance. Dear Globetrotter 69, the manager at the Twin Palms Resort, Vulega Dandala, has escalated this review thread to me, the owner of the hotel group, to put to bed. I do hope we can come to an understanding and close these comments off for good. As you can see, it has become quite a popular thread, and we are getting tweets and emails from all over the world about your review. In fact, I see you have quite a following with your string of strident reviews. It is becoming an untenable situation as we are being bombarded by well-meaning members of the public with their supportive comments, and it's taking up all our digital and psychological bandwidth. As you seem to be fond of biblical metaphors, allow me to extend one to you in the form of an olive branch. As the owner of the Golden Beach Hotel Group, I'd like to offer you a unique deal. If you agree never to visit any of our resorts ever again, we will forgive your debt and call our lawyers off. This includes all of our current establishments and any future ventures too. So including but not limited to Sunset Beach Hotel, Gate Bridge B&B, Oceana Overnight, Twin Palms Resort, Lakeside Lodges, and Coconut Bungalows. I trust that you will take us up on our generous offer and we will not cross paths again. Sincerely, the Golden Beach Hotel Group, Pty Limited. Dear Golden Beach Hotel Group, thank you for your polite response and generous offer. I accept it with gratitude. As my Aunt Daphne used to say, you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. I didn't know then what a gift horse was, nor do I now, but I certainly won't be looking at this one in the mouth or elsewhere. Best, Morgan Belafre, a.k.a. at Globetrotter69. O.M.G. That's you. Travelling slacks. That's you, isn't it? You and your Aunt Bloody Daphne. It's Susie DeSantos here, owner of the hotel group. We've been trying to track you down for ages, trying to get a warrant for your arrest for theft and property damage at our other hotels, specifically Coconut Bungalows, but we've never been able to locate your residential address. But now we have it. Now we've got you, you wily bastard. And all because you had the temerity to leave a substandard review. I can't wait to see you in court. OMG. OMG. I've been going through the older reviews linked to your profile, and I see that, apart from at Travelling Slacks, you catfish as Nelson Smith, Boris Y at Yell Too Soon, at Crabcatcher55, and David Delahaye at Making Hay. How many online identities do you have? We followed the trail from your profile, but the address you listed took us to an abandoned building. The investigator said it was disgusting. Newspaper piled to the ceiling and rotten food in the fridge. rats, and a swarm of cockroaches. I knew it must have been your old place when they told me about the old broken violin. You're a serial one-star reviewer, and you've trashed every single one of our hotels. What is your obsession with our group? Let me warn you right now that we will not tolerate any further communication from you or any of your fake online personas. You better leave me alone, Jeff Sachs or Morgan Bellafray or whatever your bloody name is. I never want to hear from you again. You stay away from me, my staff, and my business. P.S. I've alerted the police to your insane behavior, and we're in the process of filing a restraining order. If I were you, I'd disappear and never, ever contact me again, or you'll be very sorry. I have a team of expensive lawyers, and I am not afraid to use them. Oh, Susie. So lovely to hear from you again. I wondered when you'd recognize my style of writing. I have been told I have a distinct voice and a special flair for composition. Then I found myself wondering if you'd somehow recognize me in the flesh, even though we've never officially met before. But I know your face so well by now, and would recognize you anywhere, even though you often change the color of your hair. I do like the current shade, by the way. That burnished brown is fetching on you. It looked especially good with that navy blouse you were wearing this morning. I like your perfume too. Is it new? I thought it smelled delicious. It gets 5 stars from me. Dear Mr. Bellafray/Sachs, this cease and desist order is to inform you that your persistent actions, including but not limited to harassing Mrs. Susie DeSantos, have become unbearable. You are ordered to stop such activities immediately as they are being done in violation of the law. Mrs. DeSantos has the right to remain free from these activities as they constitute harassment and stalking, and we will pursue any legal remedies available to us against you if these activities continue. These remedies include contacting law enforcement to obtain criminal sanctions against you and suing you civilly for the damages that Mrs. DeSantos and the Golden Beach Hotel Group Pty Limited have incurred as a result of your actions. You risk incurring severe legal consequences if you fail to comply with this demand. This letter acts as your final warning to discontinue this unwanted conduct before we pursue legal actions against you. Sincerely, Mr. David Jankowitz, LLB, Jankowitz & Associates, on behalf of the Golden Beach Hotel Group, Pty Limited. The host server at Globetrotter69 is not recognized. This email address has been deleted. This message will not be resent. This is a permanent error message. The end.